So let me do this. Actually, Ricardo had a question. Are you open to doing question and answers?
Yes, of course.
Okay. And please bear with me. I'm struggling with some hay fever, so I'm going to try not to sneeze while I talk.
It's okay. I've been coughing. You're fine.
Yeah, it's that exciting time of the year. But yeah, you did wonderfully well. Ricardo, would you like to go, sir?
Yeah, sure. Look, first, I'd like to say that I applaud you for having the courage to tell your story, because it's obvious that you've been stressed by the experience. It's obvious, and you confess it. You have been stressed by the experience. I totally get you. I haven't had a similar experience to you. But I fully recognize how traumatic some experiences in life can be. I had a hell of a year in 2021 with chemotherapy. I've got blood cancer, I mentioned before, and that experience has been so traumatic for me. I totally get where you're coming from. So thank you for having the courage. My question is, do you remember at all, with the lights that you said you observed under the craft? I think you were saying that they were rotating. Are you able to put any kind of frequency value to that light rotation under the craft? I mean, I know it's a difficult question, but are you able to estimate how fast the lights were spinning? 1 rotation a second, 10, can you, any guess at all?
It was, I can't guess in terms of frequency, but it was, let me try to find something it could be compared to. Like it wasn't, oh. What is coming to mind is those barbershop things, it's constant and it's like, but it's not, it wasn't fast, like spinning.
Yeah.
You could really sense that movement. But what I forgot to say about those lights though, is that they had no halo. So the lights were really bright, but very definite. And they were bright, but they weren't lighting anything. So that is something that, but in terms of how fast it was a constant movement on the left. Maybe because this was a big engine, but I would say it would take maybe 2-3 seconds.
Right. Okay. So it was pretty low. Well, I mean, that's what we would call fairly low frequency. If you can perceive it, right? If the human eye can perceive it, it can't be actually rotating that fast. But that's all. Look, I realised it was a very difficult question. I wouldn't have been able to answer it if I had had the same experience. So I just thought I'd ask, because maybe you did have an answer.
Yeah, but I don't and I don't like, my perception is really that the machine didn't move, but the lights were moving, and it really made me think of an amusement park. Those. But the difference in the lighting was like, if you go to the amusement park, there's the halo, like you'll see the blue, but then there's like that blue around. This was, and the ship itself was like a onyx charcoal kind, and it was so clean and so perfect. There's no words to describe it, but it was black and yet kind of a shiny, and so that makes me think it could be charcoal, but I don't think the machine was rotating. I think it was just the lighting, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks for that.
Wonderful, Ricardo. Thank you. Let me go to John next. John, sir. Oops, John, I'll do ask to unmute.
Yes, I just want to thank you for sharing your experience. and typical of abductee experiences. You can't remember everything, and everything is at a certain level quite confusing. But thank you for sharing. And I guess that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, and thank you as well. Let me go to, you know what, let me go to Bruce and then I'll go to Phil, if that works. Or Phil, you said you've been saving up questions for weeks and weeks and weeks, right? So
Yeah.
let me go to Bruce first then. Bruce, go ahead, sir.
Yes, thank you for letting me speak. I wanted to say to her that if she wants to talk to somebody who has had quite a few abduction experiences and other related experiences, she should contact me. And I'd be very happy to. And I'd like to know if she knows about the Winnipeg UFO group in Canada.
Well, I don't know about the unit, like, is it the CE5?
I know it's a group of people around the country and the world who have meetings there in Winnipeg, Canada.
Okay.
And they have monthly meetings, usually the second Tuesdays of the week. And I put Mark Olson's information in the chat, and I can get you in touch with them, because there you will be able to talk with many other people who've had experiences.
Yeah, that would be great. Thanks.
Okay. I mean, also, I wanted to ask, have you been hypnotically regressed?
Yeah, they tried. Well, Francois Bourbeau tried. And he said he tried everything from the smooth approach to drastic approach, and it wouldn't work for me. And so he thinks that I've been programmed not to access that information. He thinks that maybe I know too much. But for me, until I have proofs, it's only theories. The thing is that he said it could very well be that they told me, you know, if you remember things, we'll arm you or your family. And so I'm preventing myself from going there, whether it's true or not that, you know, people are going to be armed. But he said that he's heard that story before, but I don't remember that. So, but they tried, and there was no success.
Good. That's good that you've attempted that. I went through hypnotic regression, and I recalled the extreme event that I had when I was abducted in front of my entire drill crew in Virginia in 1981. They saw the craft hovering over an adjacent field, a beam of light coming from it to the mudlogging trailer where I was sleeping. They saw the little bodies taking me in the beam to the craft. They went and found me missing, and then they saw me brought back in that another beam to the trailer. And when I woke up, I was, it was like one horrific nightmare. I couldn't believe what had happened to me. I was in great pain and hypothermic. And the only thing I wanted to do was forget it. And I was shocked by what my crew told me that they actually saw happen. And I had no concept of abduction at that time, or ETs.
Yeah.
So,
no,
Well,
it's, I'm actually glad I don't. I'm actually glad I don't remember that much. But you know, there's a part of me who wants to understand, and there's a part of me who's like, I'm, you know. And there's you're making me think of another memory. A few months after the UFO sighting, I remember waking up about 2 feet in the air. Before I hurt my bed, and I bounced back, and that vibration was there, and it sounded like I was just dropped by the engine. And I tried to look if it was because everything was shaking. So I tried to look if there had been an earthquake and during that night, and none was registered.
If it's okay, let me interrupt really quick. Bruce, maybe
Yeah.
you could share some contact info she could reach you at.
yes, I'll put that in the chat. Okay.
Oh, okay. And You know, let me see. I'm not sure. Do you have access to the chat to pull out Bruce's info?
Let me see.
I'll copy and paste
But-
the just for her.
Phil, do you
It's free
think?
copy, Phil?
Yeah, I'll copy and paste it on Facebook.
Do you have a pen? Can you write down this?
Okay. Yeah, actually, Bruce, you can put it in chat and Phil will get it to her because they're
Okay.
colleagues.
All right, very good. All right, thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, and that okay. And so let me go to Phil next, sir. I apologize for keeping you waiting. What
No,
he said, he's been saving up questions. I was like, oh, okay. So release the Kraken, sir.
Yeah. Actually, I just want to say that I met Nathalie a couple of years ago when she heard me saying crazy stuff like Einstein was wrong. She immediately opened the can of worm on her experience with the aliens. So we're on the same wavelength. Let's put it that way. So Nathalie, I was wondering. I don't want to scare you, but it sounds like you have a tracking device in you. Have you ever scanned your body to know if there's any device so that the aliens are able to track you because you've been abducted multiple times now?
Well, I don't know that. I suspect that. One thing I can say about tracking device is I remember out of nowhere, every time I would see a coat hanger, I would have that feeling in my eye, right? And I would just be like, I don't like to see that metal piece, and I would have the sense that it would go in my eye and do something. And one time I went to the eye doctor and they did say, there's that little piece in you, and I don't know what it is, but it doesn't seem to be affecting anything. It doesn't seem to be in the way. It doesn't seem to be dangerous. So we'll just leave it there. But that's the closest of what there could be, but I haven't checked officially. I haven't been scanned, like not the old body. No.
Okay, because I guess that I would certainly that would be the first thing I would do, and I don't know. You never had problems by going to the airport with the machine that scans your body. They never detected anything there.
No.
Yeah. Also, did the newspaper talk about the flying saucer around and get snow? Did the neighbors saw anything, or you're really it's really like another isolated case?
Well, there's me and there's this other man. I haven't reached out to police. To be frank, I had no clue what to do. You see, nobody says what you have to do if you see in Sokol Falcon, if you see a flying saucer. So I had no clue what to do. When I reached out, it was more to try to understand what had happened to me. But one thing that I can share is that, so not too long after the sighting, maybe a month after, I went to my hairdresser and she said, wow, what happened to you? You lost so much hair. And I said, she said, has there been anything traumatic? And I said, yes. And she said, what is it? So I told her that. And then about a month later, I was telling the story to a former colleague and she turns white. And I tell her that I saw that UFO and she turns around and she said, I believe you. And I said, well, don't put too much in it. Like, I know it sounds crazy. And she said, no. She said, end of October, I can't remember the date. And she lives in the same neighborhood and she could have seen that thing from her house before it was lower on the ground. But she said, I think she was doing the dishes or something and looking by the window. And she saw that thing sliding and kind of coming down the park. And she drew it to me from her angle. So she draw like a flat thing with lines which would have been the rays that I've been seeing. So there would have been another witness. And strangely enough, as she turned white, so it happened that we knew each other. But besides that, it was not in the newspaper. There's one, Jacques Cazot wanted to put my testimony in his book, and I wasn't ready for that yet.
And also, do you remember the transition process of you entering the spaceship, or you were knocked off before? You don't remember the when they were dragging you inside?
I have glimpse of things that could be in the spaceship. Like I said, in the tube with the needles and there's other memories where I know that I need to go talk to someone, and I'm usually not
Other than
scared when I'm
memories,
there.
what did you learn from this experience? What scientific things did you learn from this experience?
Well, it sounds crazy because sometimes I think I learned stuff that I can't even comprehend. Like one time I remember talking about time, and they were explaining to me that, you know, the way the way we look at time here isn't really how it is. And they were trying to explain to me that it's a bit like going to a movie. There's so many movies you can go to, and you can move from room to room, and it's like those are all the realities, and we're in all those realities, but sometimes there's a glitch or we switch room, and then we're like in another story. And they say, like, you know, when you find something and you say, oh, this is 10,000 years old, it's not really 10,000 years old, it's because it belongs to this other thing. But I can't really understand all that, but I know I do when they're telling me about it. But when I wake up, I just know I've been taught stuff that I don't really grasp. I know that there's things that I can sense. Last year, my stepson actually died from cancer, but I knew before that he would die from. I knew he wouldn't have his 17th birthday, and I think I'm learning to use abilities, or that
Has it changed your observable universe?
What's that?
Has your observable universe, and wherever you are, has it been altered? Do small things appear, disappear, other than, you know, your generational line or in stories? I want to know exactly how has it affected you?
It's a big question. Okay, I'm going to try my best, but for me, it's really trying to like everything we do that people give so much importance to is no longer important to me. So it's a bit like people will give themselves importance by the work they do, but for me it's so much more. And I when I see war, when I see people not helping each other, when I see lies, when I see it's like I sense that, and it's like I would like the world to be free of that. But my like things disappearing, I don't think so. Like I'm trying to think.
I mean, I don't want to sound bad, but like it sounds like you're applying for a Miss Pageant show. Honestly, it doesn't, like, you know, that I don't see like how you know,
can
how
you
has
raise
it
your hand
affected?
to ask a question? We're still in the Q&A.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's okay. Yeah, Lulu, let me go to Mark, if that's okay. Mark, thank you, sir.
Okay, yes. I want to ask you, when was the last time you think you've been abducted?
The last experience I remember having is about 3 years ago now. It was, I was not doing well. I felt sick, and I just remember I went to sleep in the day, and I could sense presence in my room, in my back, and I couldn't move. But I remember just thinking, you know what, as long as I can breathe, there's no issue. But I would feel what I could describe as a child's hand playing in the back of my head. But that would be in this reality. It wouldn't be like it wouldn't be like on a ship or something.
When was the last time you think you were on a ship, actually? Was that the 2016 event?
It would have been around 2017. So in the month after that, when I could recall like having the needles in my neck and being in that tube, it's one of the last. But then again, I don't know, is it a memory that came back, or is it something that happened? And it's confusing at points, really.
Oh, sorry.
So there's an interesting thing that I learned about from watching lots of videos on Gaia. There's a person who claims to have had communication with extraterrestrials. His name is Corey Good. And he claims that he was taken aboard a spaceship and worked as an interpreter. And he was at a conference of a whole bunch of groups of extraterrestrials that are doing these genetic tests on humans for thousands of years. And apparently on December 16th, 2017, so the end of 2017, the head honchos who are in charge of our solar system put an end to that abduction phenomenon. And that's the same date the New York Times article came out with their bombshell article about the Pentagon being involved in UFOs. So I was just trying to connect the dots if anyone has actually been abducted on board a spacecraft after that date. Because if it hasn't happened, it would confirm, that something actually did happen on the highest level.
Yeah, not to me. I have no recollection of anything, and I was actually even discussing that with my boyfriend, and I said, well, I'm kind of glad because nothing have happened in the longest time now.
Yeah, so it's very possible that it won't happen anymore. I also spoke to people from MUFON as well and asked them about that, and they confirmed that the number of cases have dropped, dramatically. Maybe they're still visiting people in person at the house and not taking them on board the spaceship, sort of like the gray zone of what's legal for them and what's not, because they have laws too. Another thing is, if you're suffering from PTSD, lots of soldiers that have gone through, traumatic experiences in war find that mushrooms, psilocybin can help. So that may help regress memories as well, or remove the fear to just, take at your own risk.
No. Thanks for the tip, but no thanks.
No problem. Thank you for coming on. It's really brave of you. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Okay, so let me see. Where should we go from here? Should we go to open discussion, guys? Well, I guess, but before we do anything else, let me put this on gallery view, and it's Nadia, right? Why don't everyone give her a giant applause for presenting for us? And actually, John had another question. So